very, very common topic that I happen to discuss with my clients privately in a private sessions, and also interacting with them in webinar settings, etc. This is how to, in a healthy way, create a healthy boundaries, how to create for yourself your personal healthy boundaries in interacting with others in the world at large, how to make sure that it's in your interest, everything that you interact with and you do, that it's beneficial for you, it actually is worth it, and you're not losing out by interacting with either moving to a certain country or in a certain neighborhood, or signing in for a certain education or a course, or getting a package with the therapist, etc., etc. So all that actually touches the personal boundaries. And it's interesting how people handle it. Like it's common that I notice and I see that it's usually in two modes. It's either a person decides to give in, to submit, and to submit in a very unhealthy way, to just decide for themselves to do what other person or other settings or other requirement is asking of him or wanting him to do, or a person just loudly and aggressively decides or her rights, and always in a defensive mode, always explaining why it's rude for others to behave in such a way, or why is it bad for others to be as such, and basically constantly finds him or herself proving points how righteous and how right they are, and how wrong and offline or kind of disconnected other people, that he's noticed sometimes that there are other people that could potentially have everyone pushing them over and taking their space and telling them what to do, but it doesn't happen to them. And yet they are not standing with guards and with guns, proving their points, defending themselves, standing up for themselves, explaining how wrong everything and everyone is and how right they are. So we do have, so to speak, like an idea that there are people, for example, in my practice, I always see those mothers that complain and say, I have only one child or two children, and it just takes over my life. I cannot understand anymore where I belong or who I am and what I am about and what I would like. Everything is basically about them. And then I see other mothers that have much more children, and yet there's a lot of personal time and a lot of self-care and a lot of a kind of time for personal needs and understanding and dwellings and sports and hobbies and traveling, etc. And a lot of parents, a lot of mothers especially, just like complain in a way, how could that happen? Some of you that come to me that just got married feel the same way in a marriage. You feel like you lost yourself in a marriage. You feel like you always sacrifice your needs, your wants, and you're legit asking Miriam, if he wants to eat in this restaurant and I want to eat in this restaurant, obviously for the peace and for the harmony a woman gives in, a loyalty of a woman, softness of a woman, I kind of allow myself to do what he wants. But then I feel so horrible. And how is it possible if I don't hurt him or I don't hurt myself, that we still choose for ourselves what we want? So it becomes like almost impossible. We are either going to one place or we're not going anywhere. If I decide to stand up for myself, if I decide to put my foot down, then I'm an aggressor. But if I give in something that I truly don't want, then he is an aggressor and I'm a victim. So it becomes like an impossible situation in a lot of cases that you come with for help, and we address it, and we open it, and we unpack it, and we kind of sort it. And obviously, if something truly unfair happen, of course you want to stand up for yourself and yell and scream and explain and fight and prove your point and get the criminal in the right place, etc. But that doesn't usually help. The pattern repeats itself. If you attracted one situation as such, it probably will come another pattern as such is lined up, and it probably will come your way, just in order for you to learn that third, so to speak, a third option that you are not using and you're not applying, that is out there, that wants to be integrated into your system. So just to step a little bit aside from personal boundaries, we just want to address this one idea that is important to comprehend and, so to speak, take in and like apply it and live by it. Just as a matter of fact, in this world, we have good and bad. And a lot of people have no problem with good. We take good, we teach ourselves to be good, we develop ourselves to become better, we teach our children to be good and polite and honorable and respectful, etc. So good is exaggerated in a way, right? But there is another part which is amazingly important for our function in this world, for our bodily function, for our personal functions, for our interaction with others, dealing with this world, is, so to speak, a negative part of us, which usually in very religious circles, in very kind of spiritual circles, it's looked down upon. It's very much disconnected. You do a lot of practices in order to push your bad side. You do a lot of good work and a good intention in order to push away your kind of inclinations, your aggression, your hate, or your inability to kind of be not irritative. Irritation is bad. You can't be irritative. You can't be upset. You can't be aggravated. You can't be angry. You can't be sad. It's all considered to be a bad side. And a lot of people fight with it. But I have a news for you that no matter what you do, no matter how you pray, no matter which meditations you do, no matter how well you're disciplined in yoga or Tai Chi, or you eat only raw and you eat only vegan and only organic, and you go to your mentors and you serve them, no matter what you do, your bad, by definition, your bad side, by definition cannot go anywhere. It just doesn't work. It's like, I like to bring this example, it's like a tail. You might disregard it, you might want not to look at it, you might decide that it's not there, but everywhere you turn it pops out. You feel it's there, right? We don't have tails, but just imagine in the animal could decide, I don't have a tail, I don't want to know about the tail, I don't identify us, right? I identify as something else. So it doesn't matter how we fight about it or with it, it's actually there. And the wisest and more conscious approach is to learn to accept it in the world and know how to accept it, not by like a discouraged submission, like, okay, oh well, we have to take it, and of course there is no other choice. This is not acceptance. That in a way is giving up, like, so to speak, feeling very, very down about the reality, and just like, so to speak, mostly by accepting is understanding that this world will always have bad and good. And no matter what stories you hear, and no matter what predictions you hear, that this world will turn into only good and will only blossom with good, and the prediction of only good, It's not going to happen, at least not in on a human realm. Actually, in mysticism, in Kabbalah, it says there's four worlds, and our world is mostly bad. So in some other realms, there is mostly good, there is only good, and in this realm down here, where in a human kind of frame of existence, there is mostly bad, and it's best for our interest if we accept it and learn to deal with it. So how do you accept the fact that a young child is totally ill and not able to enjoy this world? How do you accept illnesses such as cancer and some diseases, so to speak, uncurable? How do you accept that? How do you accept when people steal and kill and wars and politics, unfair treating civilians, etc., etc.? How do you accept that? And the only way we could accept it is by understanding this is not our world. We just renting a place here to play our personal plan, our personal ideas. We came into the world where there is a higher consciousness, decided to create his world, his or her, right? Beyond here, the creator of this world decided that this world is going to fail the way we could, by hating it, by disconnecting from it, by wanting it to disappear. We're gonna do anything. We're only hurting ourselves. It's in and if we block ourselves from one source of it, one part of ourselves in a basement, lock the door, and decided we don't associate with it. We are only pro good, pro kind, pro understanding, pro humility, pro love in that definition, right? So, since it doesn't go anywhere, it still wants to connect because it's part of us, it's part of our existence, it's part of our physical body, physical being. And when we push it out from our system, it comes back to us in a form of other people or other situations. And we still have to cope and deal. So if I said to someone, I am not generally an angry person, I generally don't lose my temper, and I generally don't put people down, and I generally very much, I'm very kind to people. Or if I say, I have this in me and I hate this in me, all those types of reactions is pushing it away. So the next step, what will happen? It will come in a different form and shape, let's say in a person that decides to, he doesn't decide, that's how the system of this world is set up. So something, the system decides to pick a person, the most suitable person, part of your house. And it's actually a real story that I was addressing recently. Utmost unfairness, utmost disrespect, utmost dishonesty, utmost kind of carelessness, utmost trickiness and lie, whatever you want to call it. And they will present it to you in a way that you will be forced to deal with. So practically speaking, a person would, at the moment of such crisis, let's say if they're not paying rent and they're creating trouble and they're disturbing the family of the house, and they are taking advantage and they causing chaos, at the right on the level of practicality, you handle it in a way that you want to create conditions that this people or this family has to move as soon as possible, move out as soon as possible. But on a more spiritual level, on a more mental and emotional level, a person has to sit down and understand that this has nothing to do with those people. It will come if I will fight with it on an emotional and spiritual level. then it will come back in a different form. And I will continuously fight different people, different setup, different situations. One could be an ex-husband, the next could be a sister, the next could be people that rent your place, the third could be your coworker, then there could be a neighbor. It doesn't matter. Or it could be, God forbid, a sickness, a serious sickness. So a person always deals with, so to speak, aggressors that come to him or her and attack them or take over or take advantage or disables them, right? And they forced to play a role of a victim. So in this setup, we have to understand, number one, we just decide that in this world there is always going to be cruelty, so to speak, all this bizarre stuff, right? It's always going to happen here because some people come to learn their lessons through that. Some people raise their consciousness through that. And that as an option has to be available. And it's not for me to decide what's right for others and what's wrong. Sometimes a person himself or herself could feel very discouraged or disappointed about maybe a sickness. So the right way to do, first they accept that sickness. Say there is a right place for it in the world. It could be a great tool, a great teacher for someone to uproot certain imbalances, to uproot certain behavior patterns, to uproot certain conducts, to uproot certain style of living, so to speak. And just like deeply check in, submit, let the world do what it does. If in the world there is something, some disease, some dishonesty, and some hate, and some wars, and some other stuff that on a human level it's very hard to accept, just say it's beyond me, and I should understand why it's beyond me. Not my consciousness created this world. Much higher consciousness created this world. And I'm sure in that consciousness it makes sense. It has a place. And if it wouldn't make sense to that consciousness, then it wouldn't be here. So I submit, I let it be, I let it exist, I don't fight it.
Number one, what we explain is not to fight it. Just accept. It's always going to be those scenarios, those unfairness. It's going to be present, and there is something right about it. It's absolutely, truly beneficial, and I accept it and I submit. The next thing is to accept that you, as a component of this world, as a part of this world, for sure, forever, will carry equal good and bad inside you. You for sure will have that inside no matter what you do, no matter what practices you go by, no matter how you decide to uproot yourself. In fact, the best you could do for yourself is to, the best spirituality, in my opinion, is to be in contact and in connection and in acceptance that you are a carrier of good and bad. You have aggravation, you have unfairness, you have ability to lie, to trick others, you have an ability to kill. Not necessarily you're going to use it, but accepting that you have that gives you unbelievable strength. This is the second kind of half, or maybe the first half of you that's always been pushed and pushed away, and you were embarrassed because of that, and you put a lot of money and energy in order to change it and uproot it. So accepting that negativity inside you as a gasoline, as this um, oil that you could live off, and you could create, and you could practice and experience whatever this world has for you, is is actually opening up a new reality of existence. And I'm going to explain how. So if you say to yourself, if I'm dealing with a liar, let's say, if I'm dealing with a person that pathologically steals, or decides that everyone's bad and I'm going to punish everyone because of some traumas in the childhood, etc. So I want you to just look towards that person or bunch of people or a certain series of people or a situation and just say there's something right there. I accept this exactly the way it is. It's hard for me to understand. It's hard for me not to fight, not to explain that we need to fight with it. But there's something right about that experience for that person. There's something right going on here. Most of you know that my husband has a cancer and it was end stage, and everyone, you know, were present in him explaining how he's going through, living through it, and I just could explain my side to the story. As not appropriate as this could sound to many, that a wife should be there on a compassionate level and giving her all and like checking in and just like serving and slaving away because cancer takes a lot of energy on a physical level and mental level, even if it's not in your body but in somebody who lives next to you and right next to you. So it's in a way cancer is his aggressor, and in some way cancer is my aggressor, right? And we are the victim of that cancer. So it forced me to look deep and to deeply see inside and say, why is it coming to me in such a backdoor way, in a way, right? There is something deeply inside that I do not accept. Maybe I don't accept that there could be an illness out there that could attack any person, especially a person who is so health oriented and focused for a lifetime, and a person that has a little child and just recently got married and very spiritual. Maybe I have some like beef with that. Let me clear it. Let me take it back. Let me just say, Cancer, you have its honorable place. If God placed it here, who am I to fight it? So, on a very deep conscious level, if we and subconscious level, there are tools how to work with it. You just say whatever is in front of me, acting like an aggressor, it has its place. I let you be. It's so to speak, you don't allow it to be by fighting with it, by arguing, by trying to get rid of it, or trying to get rid of it for many people, trying to attack it, trying to explain it in some ways. Just let it be. Allow it to be. Just say, you have your place, and you have your depth, and you have your reasoning, and you do what you need to do. And cancer also could be the best teacher. Not for many, I don't wish it on many, but it could be the best teacher. So when you let things be, and you let things be in the world, and you look at the person that annoys you and irritates you and upsets you, and you say, you know what? You're living your life. I'll never understand why you are like that. But you are great for what you are in. What you are doing and how you're going about it, that's your personal space and your personal life. And deep inside, if you allow yourself to connect, you will know why it's there for you. I'm not your teacher. I'm not going to tell you what's right, and I'm not going to change you, and I'm not going to try to change you. Just whoever most annoys you and irritates you, just close your eyes and say, you are great and you're allowed to be as you are. There is depth to it. Your soul came into this world, live through that specific experience. And if for some reason, because of some value system, it doesn't make sense to me, it doesn't have to make sense to me. It doesn't have to be accepted by me. It doesn't have to be approved by me. It doesn't have to be applauded by me. It has its place, and you allow it to be. And when you allow others and the world to be as it is, then in a way you open a possibility for you to be who you are. That slowly brings us back to the beginning of this recording, where we started saying that a person wants to create healthy boundaries, but each time they decide to create healthy boundaries, or they specifically speak about it, they cannot create healthy boundaries. They decide to say no and they say yes. They decide not to go and then they go. They decide to eat not and then they eat. They decide to work out and then they never work out. And why is that? Is because you, in a way, by not letting others be who they are, you're also entering the pattern where you are not allowed to be who you chose for yourself. So by letting other people on a deep soul level, on a deep mental and emotional level, allow the crooks to be crooks, allow the criminals be criminals, allow people that going through their experiences, maybe difficult, maybe painful, just like create peace in your heart that there is some wisdom to that. I don't need to rescue anyone. I don't need to solve anyone's problems. Whenever people hear, and this is like a culture, and I'm not going to be scared mentioning that. Whenever there's a trouble somewhere, everyone needs to gather and save that something or someone, right? In my opinion, it's also fighting with somebody's process of life. First, I'm not against helping, I'm against rescuing. When you come with energy that I am the one who is going to fix it all up, and I'm the one who is going to put myself aside, put my family aside, and be that hero that solve all the problems, you're in a way fighting with a certain um, divine providence that this person is leading step by step, day in and day out, hour in and hour out. It has to be like a deep acceptance of that reality. And when you are calm and peaceful and checked in that there is nothing wrong, then it's okay to stretch your hand and help. When you are not chaotically involved, when you are not, the reason why people chaotically get involved, let's say somebody had a fire and kids are on the street and they're sleeping in different families. Thank goodness they survived, but they all their belongings, let's say, are lost and they don't have anything. Blah blah blah. So everyone gathers together. So there's a difference between the energy, how you do it. If you do it like this was maybe the most important lesson for all of those family members that that they lost their house, and there's some insights that only they will find out. They will uh, unpack for themselves. Like there's fixation of rightness in any event, and then with that you could go and help and ask if they need any help, and very calmly you're not saving anyone. You're just understanding that they could be lacking some resources, lacking some awareness, lacking some stability, and they might need help, right? But there's a difference between how you do it, and depends how you do it really affects those that you save and or those that you're trying to save and protect from, so to speak, aggressors. Like in this case, it could be a fire. So it's important for a newer person and a newer generation to really be that level conscious. And yes, some people might say you're acting too cold or too distant and too insensitive, too careless. Who cares how it looks? You just have to be complete inside. You're not fighting with anything. You're always convinced that everything that happens, a divorce, a loss of a close family member, complete collapse economically, loss of a lot of money in investment, doesn't matter what it is. There is a deep righteousness there. There is a deep insight there. There is a deep level of love there, right? So it's important for us to understand when we accept and let others be, then the personal boundaries that we always wanted for ourselves, and for some reason it was hard for us to set it up and let it be functionable and a kind of alive for us, um, it becomes natural when you let others be in their space, in their energies, in their choices, and their wishes, and they might look crazy to you. You say, I let it be, and I want this person to live the experience they want for themselves. And then all of a sudden, your preferences are heard, your preferences are understood, your preferences and your wants are paid attention and honored. So all of a sudden, your personal boundaries, you don't need to fight for, you don't need to stand for, you don't need to argue about, you don't need to defend yourself again and again. It just happens only by accepting, deeply accepting, not pretending that you accept and deeply not accept it, but deeply accepting this world as it is. I love you all, and we'll be in touch.